Hey everybody, it's Glenn back in this video with the Game of Thrones Legacy Collection Series 2 Jaime Lannister. Series 1 represented Funko's first foray into 6-inch scale, highly detailed posable action figures, but long-time viewers of my videos will remember they got off to less than a stellar start, with figures literally falling apart in my hands as I reviewed them. After much badgering from me, Funko replaced my broken action figures with ones from a second production run that corrected the problems which plagued the early released figures. So let's hope Jaime here will be much the same, but before we open him, let's take a look at the packaging back, and we have a picture of Jaime Lannister and the other action figures in this series. They are Brienne of Tarth, Arya Stark, Khal Drogo, Robb Stark, and my girl Daenerys Targaryen. Stay tuned for reviews of all of those. So here is the Kingslayer himself out of packaging, arms and legs still in place, so go Funko! In terms of quality and production control, this is leaps and bounds above the Series 1 figures. Of course, this is Jaime in his King's Guard armor, and I'm really pleased with the level of detail in the sculpt of it. You can tell the folks at Gentle Giant who worked on this took some time to really familiarize themselves with every inch of detail and painstakingly replicated it. And all that detail in the sculpt is highlighted to good effect by the various shading and dry brush paint effects, which you just don't see to this level in figures from other companies in this price range. With the Series 1 figures, if you were lucky enough to get a figure that didn't snap apart as soon as you posed it, then frankly you were left with figures possessing varying degrees of underwhelming likenesses to the actors from the show. But as we take a closer look at Jaime, and for me the likeness is pretty good. Has a suitable sly smile that exudes a quiet arrogance. I don't know if series to series the face sculpts have actually improved, or if the paint deco is just much more complementary to the sculpt. Here the skin tone has a great sense of realism to it compared to Ned Stark from Series 1, and you really see how the deco has improved, with Jaime's stubble being subtly graduated with the flesh tone, whereas Ned looks like he's been bobbing for apples in a barrel of Nutella. But I'll stop heaping on the praise, as it isn't without its flaws. You may have noticed this black fleck paint defect by his eye. Annoying! It looks like one of those teardrop tattoos that gang members earn when they kill someone. Well, I guess he is the Kingslayer after all. Secondly, his right leg is noticeably longer than the left one. I've played around with posing him, yet it still leaves him standing crooked. And I wish his cloak was shorter, as it's actually longer than his body, meaning for him to stand, it does need to be draped at an angle behind him, seemingly dragging on the floor, picking up Lord knows what kind of muck should his King's Guard duties ever call him to the streets of Flea Bottom. And then his accessory, not that this is bad, actually it's very good. I'll get to the downside to it in a little bit, but until then let's take a closer look at the detail of the hilt. You can kind of make out the lion's head, with the lion being the Lannister family crest. The sword fits snugly into his scabbard on Jaime's waist belt, but actually fitting into his hand is where we encounter a problem. Now I don't know if his thumb has been sculpted to his index finger, which would be a moronic oversight, or if the paint has essentially dried like glue, attaching the thumb to the index finger. Either way, there'll be no squeezing this sword into his grip, so I'm going to use my Stanley knife to see if I can cut them apart. There, looks great holding his sword, doesn't he? But that's thanks entirely to me. Honestly, this is certainly not the kind of customizing I expect to have to do. Perhaps in another line by another company I'd be more scathing, yet Funko really have made efforts to improve their products, so I don't want to be completely discouraging of those efforts. Now looking at articulation, and the head rotates side to side. There is some slight up and down movement too. At the shoulder there is rotation, and it's also hinged, moving up and down, but of course this shoulder armour does inhibit some of that range of motion. At the elbow there's rotation, and then it's hinged, moving up but not quite 90 degrees, and then back down. Would be good to see a greater range of movement out of that elbow hinge, as that would lead to much more dynamic posing, which is important, what with these being sword swinging characters. Plus there's also rotation at the wrist, and there is also a hinge to the wrist too. There's rotation at the waist, Although made in a soft rubber, the nature of his costume does inhibit some of the articulation of the legs, but they do move out to the side and back in. They move to the front, but not so much to the back. There is an upper leg swivel. At the knee it is double jointed, and then at the ankle it's hinged, moving backwards and forwards. Plus it has that ankle rocker pivot. Frankly, Funko are lucky that they have invested in licensing my favourite TV show, as that makes me lend much more goodwill than I might otherwise. But if a third series of figures does roll around, I just hope the upward trajectory continues, as next time I'll be a lot less forgiving. Anyway, click this video for an action figure comparison pitting the Series 1 Tyrion Lannister against his Walgreens exclusive counterpart. As ever, it sure would float my boat if you could give this video a thumbs up, also comment, share and subscribe. Check out the description beneath this video for links to my Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Click those links and connect with me there too. Hope to see you in my next video. Bye.